This is the Troutbitten Podcast.
Troutbitten.
Troutbitten?
Troutbitten.
Troutbitten.
Troutbitten?
Yeah, Troutbitten.
Troutbitten.
It's about trout.
Wild trout. This is Troutbitten.
This is the Troutbitten Podcast. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Dominic Swantowski. I'm the owner of Troutbitten and the author of Troutbitten.com. All right, we have a good episode lined up here about gear fixes. And our buddy Steve is joining us too. He's a great friend from a long time back, one of the OG Troutbitten guys, and I'll introduce Steve in a moment. So yeah, our topic is gear fixes. Because when you fish long enough, things break. That's the nature of life, really. Things fall apart. But if you're resourceful, you put them back together. Sometimes it's out of necessity. Honestly, a couple decades ago, I simply couldn't afford to go through gear as fast as it was wearing down. So I learned to patch waders, fix a fly rod, mend a fly line, resole my boots, sew tears in my fishing vest, and fix my landing net. I think, too, we've all run into these moments on a fishing trip where we need a quick fix for a broken rod tip or a wader patch, whatever it is. And that's what the guys are here to talk about tonight. This will be a fun conversation. Been looking forward to this. Looking forward to having our buddy Steve on. So real quick, here's Bill Dell. How you doing?
Good. Catching some fish, remodeling, or I should say finishing a room quickly, hopefully.
You sent us some pics. That's good work. You have help or you do it all yourself?
I had a contractor do the outside, the walls and the siding and the windows, and now I'm finishing the inside, the miserable part of drywall and trim.
You have skills. You should get Dando up there to help you. He doesn't have anything else to do.
I actually sent it to another picture. I sent it to another friend, and he's like, looks like Dando should be.
Really?
Dando should be helping you with that. And I was like, he went and made a baby.
That's right. He's his daughter's 1 week old, right? About, yeah. Was she 1 week, 10 days, maybe 9 days? Mm-hmm.
Yes, math.
How about Matt Grove from Montana? What you doing, bud? What's new?
Caught my first fish trout on a dry fly this year.
What? What?
Hey. Yeah.
First ever. Good for you. You know,
this year.
You're improving.
Yeah. Good job.
You don't
man.
just nymph. See, you can fish dries.
Yes, it's the start. Tis the season.
Were you on your boat?
No, wade fishing, big bugs. Salmon flies, baby.
That was that picture you sent. Yeah.
Yep.
That was cool.
Yeah. They hatch in interesting parts of the area early on that a lot of people don't know about.
Oh.
Just the water temperature is, warmer in certain places when most people think it's full on runoff, but in other areas it's fairly water's getting warm, and there's isolated emergences of the big bug. If you can fish it, it doesn't take many of those things to get the fish looking up.
Sure.
We talked about it before we got on, but it's a prospecting game. And if you commit to it in streams that have that hatch, you'd be shocked at what comes to the surface. But if you're like looking at the stream, looking for hatches or fish rising, you wouldn't think twice about putting on that bug.
Nice.
And so I had a really good time, and I actually was down there with Slooper.
Nice.
Yeah, Slooper beat him up pretty good on his tight line.
You tie his fly on for him? Did you tie the knots for him?
No, Sloop beat up those fish. He does a number on them early season.
Hey, see if he'll join us for the last podcast, or see if he'll join us for the airing of grievances.
He will. He's got a lot of frustrations pent up, so
right. This is true.
He'll definitely join us.
I think he did last year. We're saying hi to Dr. Trevor Smith.
Hey now.
Hey now.
Yep. Hey. Going down to Seven Springs tomorrow to shoot an archery competition with Josh.
Oh, you did that last year, right?
What are you?
Yeah.
Are you?
Cool.
What are you doing after you're done with the shoot? Driving home real quick.
We have like a. You should come up. No, you should come up. We're staying over one night down there, Thursday night, tomorrow night.
It's literally like 15 minutes from my house.
I'll give you the address. We're staying at a.
Oh yeah,
like Airbnb.
I know where Springs is. That's where we go to.
What Bill will give you.
The place we'll be at.
Passing out hugs.
The house.
Squeezer.
It's my old stomping grounds, Doc.
I know.
Yeah,
do you have any time to participate in fishing activities after your
extracurricular activities?
Yes, fishing activities.
You know what? It might rain us out on Friday, so we should just fish instead.
I feel like this he's like most fly fishermen, just looking for excuses not to go
looking for
fish.
excuses to go fishing.
I'm saying if you you have some challenges with your shooting of the bow and targets, but you have to tap out early.
Tap out early,
and catch the brown trouts or the brook trouts.
That would be fun.
Weren't you in a competition though to win a pickup truck or something?
That's it.
Last year.
It's like there's a 110-yard shot to be entered into the raffle, but it's like a silver dollar at 110 yards, which you can't even see. I mean, it's a pretty.
Didn't Josh hit it last year?
But Josh hit it. Yeah.
And Josh hit it, but then there were other people that hit it.
Yeah, he was in a
lottery or a drawing.
So there's like, I forget how many people around. There's 14 different competitions around the country, and I think the total number of people was like 110 or something like that. So his odds weren't terrible, but
you couldn't hit it though, huh?
I didn't even try. So we decided we'd pay for the guy who was leading the scores at the time to do it. So if I can't win, I don't try.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good strategy. But if you really wanted to,
if I wanted to,
you probably you could hit it. No doubt about it.
This year, obviously, I'll do it.
Let's introduce our buddy Steve Sawyer. Dearman Steve. OG Troutbitten.
OG Steve.
What are you doing, Steve Sawyer? How are you doing, bud?
What's happening, everyone? It's a pleasure to be here and good seeing some old faces and meeting some new. So I certainly appreciate it.
Love it.
The legend of Sawyer, right? It's interesting on the podcast, Steve, because we put hints in.
Oh yeah,
not hints. We just reference the Sloops and the Sawyers and the Pat Burks.
Yeah,
throughout all these episodes. And so I think from our listener standpoint, it's super cool to be like, oh, here's that. We didn't even call him Steve, did we?
No,
Sawyer probably. Yeah,
we were
Dick
doing
Jones.
a secret
Dick
name,
Jones.
Dick Jones. You were Dick Jones.
Tell us about that, bud.
Oh, Dick Jones.
Yeah.
Oh, so you want the story behind the name?
Sure.
I assume.
Yeah.
I want to know why you're Dick
origin
Jones.
story.
Yeah.
All right, here's an origin story. So my friend and I were driving to St. Louis to visit his brother.
Yeah.
Just outside of St. Louis, we got stuck in traffic because the interstate was shut down for 4 hours, and this was at night. And we just happened to be across from the Dick Jones dealership.
Is that what it was called?
So we literally spent 4 hours making jokes about Dick Jones. Like, I just got dicked at Dick Jones. And we were loopy from driving all day. And so that just became kind of the pseudonym I used.
And what we're referring to is you did all the illustrations for the Troutbitten website for all the years until Josh started doing it, a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And just because you're too damn busy.
Well, and my skill is rudimentary. I think you've certainly upgraded because they're really nice.
Well, Josh is trained, right? You and I were putting stuff together. Anyway, this is Dick Jones, and your real name's Steve Sawyer, and we're allowed to say that now, huh?
Yeah, we are.
Ooh,
unmasked.
He's unmasked, right? You can't see his face, and we're not giving you his address. Okay.
There you go.
But Steve Sawyer exists.
Last 3 digits of an SSN.
Well, and it's like what?
Nice.
Yeah, what side of the state's he from though? From the accent, because all of our listeners wonder. We got strong accents here.
Yeah.
You listen to Dick Jones; he's got that Yinzer accent.
He does.
Oh, I don't know about that.
He's down there. He's down there pantsing.
You're a Yinzer, Steve. It's okay. You can join me and Dell. We got stronger Yinzer accents.
That's true. It's all Western PA guys here.
It is.
Dummies from the other side.
Except for Sloop.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean
we'll
now.
Apologize to him. He's a Flyers fan.
So seriously, you did a nice job with those illustrations. I have them all. They're all on the website. I have them all in a folder, and I've had a lot of comments that, hey, that makes a big difference in those articles. Yeah. Remember how picky I was? Steve.
Wait, was?
Well, I mean, with it, yeah, right. Steve was probably one of the first people to realize that if you're going to work with Dom, he's going to be a pain in the ass.
Well, what was funny is if you remember, Dom, when you first wanted an illustration, you asked just the 4 of us in the group, can anybody draw?
I think I remember that.
And I said, well, I put a lot of PowerPoint presentations together so I could put something rudimentary for you just using the tools that are in that package. So he described what he wanted, and I put it together. And I don't know, maybe there was 18 edits. just to the tweak of the angle of the line.
that
and how it
sounds,
was all,
that's standard.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I think we should have Steve back for airing of grievances,
Yeah.
and he can release his frustrations with modifying his diagram 18 times.
So you have an invitation. You can definitely have it. You got the microphone. You come on in for the airing of grievances.
Just show up.
We'll have
Steve,
we'll have a full house that night.
How often, when back in the forum days, were you checking the forum daily?
Right.
Oh,
Right.
20, 30 times. Easy.
Seriously. Yeah, I know.
There's no lie.
Yep.
I mean, every time something new came up, you were all in on it and posted out. And it was a way of life back then.
The way of
was-
life.
it
that's
was
a good way to
hot.
put it.
It was hot.
That's when we start saying life on the water, kind of that's what it was. It's like, yeah. Well, we've talked about it a lot. Steve, you listen to the podcast, right? So we mentioned the forum.
Yeah.
And kind of the origins again of Troutbitten quite a bit. I've had a couple people say, I couldn't find that forum. I'm like, no, and you never will.
Nope.
It's buried.
Impossible.
It's buried.
Yeah. It was a private forum, man.
I have a question for Gearman Steve.
Oh, yeah.
How many Cabela's LSI rods do you have?
I have every one from a 3-weight all the way up to a 12-weight.
Do you have any?
And I have the old LSTs before they came the LSIs.
Oh.
So I have some LSTs and some LSIs.
10 of them.
By far the best house rod ever made.
Do you have an extra tip for a 9-foot 4-weight Cabela's
Hey, now.
LSI?
I don't have an
Hey,
extra tip.
hey,
I have
Del.
the whole rod.
I broke mine, and that was like my favorite 9-foot 4-weight. And yeah,
God,
I've got it put together with nails right now and some poorly strung thread around it to kind of keep it together. It's pretty bad.
Yeah, those are great rods.
That's a gear fix. So you're saying you have 10 of the one model, 3 to 12.
It was.
Is that right?
I don't know how to like.
No, Steve does.
Yeah.
Steve has
The
10 of them.
I bet you I have. At one point, I had like 5 or 6 of them, and I've broken a couple of them.
Oh, wow.
They,
You liked them too.
yeah, they were. I think if I remember, it was a G Loomis blank that Cabela's kind of put their stuff on top of. If I remember right, Steve.
It was a St. Croix. But yeah.
But
He knows.
but it was a really fast rod, and it was a quality rod for like $100.
Wow, it was that.
Yeah,
I didn't know it was that price range.
yeah,
Well, they were listed for about 180, but you can always get sales up to.
119.
I mean, I don't think I paid more than 120 for one.
So,
But they,
yeah.
by far, best house rods that any of those big boxes made.
So the reason you have the moniker Gearman Steve is because you're a gear guy. This was Bill's idea to talk about gear fixes, and right away he said we should have Steve on because he's a big gear guy. And let's get this out of the way. How many fishing rod and reel setups? Well, I know this for a fact. Every rod has to have its own reel.
Correct.
Yeah, in Steve's world. And how many rod reel setups do you have?
Right now, 141.
Thank you,
Dang.
Steve.
Right?
I feel like
Earned that,
I
right?
feel like my pack, my
That's impressive.
addiction to buying packs feels like I can't sleep.
Modest.
It feels modest,
Yeah.
but like to me, it feels like it's a problem at times. But I feel like Steve has released me from my
That's right.
my own personal demons here.
Yeah.
Well, if I can share a story that my wife loves
Oh, yeah.
to share.
Mm-hmm.
I had all my rods in the basement. I had a custom rod rack that I made. I have shelves where all the reels go on. And then in the rafters, I have all my fly rods in their cases. So we had the cable man come over, fixing some things, and finally said, I assume you own a bait store and you sell rods and reels, right? I said, no, these are all mine. And this guy was just blown away that was my personal collection. So my wife uses that as a reason why I might have gone
That's
too far.
impressive.
That's great.
That's a pretty good reference. I mean, quite honestly, if you walk into, let's say, a smaller or even medium-sized fly shop, they might not have 150 rods, right?
No.
Fair.
Yeah.
In fairness, that might be true. I mean, to sell.
If you're looking to get rid of a 9-foot 4-weight Cabela's LSI rod,
He's really going after
He
this.
is.
Steve.
Yeah.
you know,
Just the tip section is all he needs.
You know,
Just a
What are you
tip.
going to trade? Why don't we have like a Bill Dell, Steve Sawyer
that's right.
trade? Like 22 packs for a rod
I
tip.
could handle that. I love that rod so much. You know, I'll send you a picture of the the ridiculous amount of packs I have.
He's
and
pressing.
you can choose 1, 2, 3, whatever it takes to get that Cabela's LSI rod.
Whatever it takes. So I want to tell you about Tajima Direct. They make the best polarized lenses on the market. Tajima gives me perfectly clear vision and more detail with less eye strain, so I see more fish. The process is simple. Take a pair of your sunglasses and send them in to Tajima. In short order, you'll get your frames back with your choice of lens tints that are specifically designed for fly fishing. With both prescription and non-prescription, Tajima's patented lens technology results in the best lenses I've ever worn, including every top brand out there. So I wear polarized lenses all day, every day, on the water. And I've been rotating in Tajima's brown 15 green mirror for average light days, and their yellow-green 40 silver mirror for the cloudy, low-light days that I love to fish. I can tell you that for me, having Tajima's prescription lenses in the right lens tints has been a game changer. I put my glasses on, and I don't think about them again until the end of the trip. Send in your own frames today. Visit tajima-direct.com. That's tajima-direct.com. Upgrade your lenses and see what you've been missing. Since 2006, Yeti has been building products for anglers who fish hard and share an addiction for the woods and the water. Yeti changed the industry with their legendary coolers by featuring rugged but simple designs built to last for generations and stand up to whatever Mother Nature might bring. Yeti now takes that same functional and elegant design to everything in their lineup, from soft coolers to drinkware bags and more. Introducing the Easy Access Ranchero Backpack. It's the latest to join Yeti's lineup of tough-as-nails bags, and it's another part of my fishing gear that keeps me organized and ready on the water. The Ranchero Backpack features a cutting-edge rip-zip opening, so you can quickly tear the bag open to see the gear you need in just seconds. With smart internal organization, there's no more digging through your backpack for tippet spools or fly boxes. And for even more convenience, a handy vertical zipper allows you to grab gear at the bottom without having to unpack from the top. Get in, get out, and get going. Check out the Ranchero line of backpacks at yeti.com or find them at a Yeti retailer store near you. My first real experience with understanding, well, really what Steve knew about rods was when we were talking about that Sage Z-axis. Remember when I had a chance to get one of those for real cheap, Steve?
Oh, yeah.
And what, you already have one, or you knew about it?
Yeah, I had one.
Yeah. And I got the 9.5 foot 4-weight.
4-weight.
And you have 3 of them, right? Don't you?
I have the 4-weight, 5-weight, 6-weight.
See what I mean?
He's like, have you
He's like, that's a great rod. Oh my God, for that price, you should get it.
have you progressed? Like, are you still I think at this point we'll call you a collector.
Mm-hmm.
You're still collecting modern day rods.
I will still, if I find a rod that fits an application I'm looking for, I will buy or tinker or develop a new one. If there's an old rod that fits the bill, there's some rods that have just been so fine-tuned for what I need them for. I still use them to this day, but I'm always adding to the collection to suit the needs of what I'm expanding to.
What is
And how are you tinkering with them?
Mm-hmm.
How do I tinkering with them?
Yeah. Like what little modifications are you making?
Well, he has a lot of custom
Buddy,
rods.
that's a whole show in itself.
He does.
Let's go.
He has a lot.
Let's go.
Well-
it's gear show.
Yep.
Just high level
It's
it.
Gearman Steve.
Okay, high level. So I usually try to get a rod and reel outfit for a specific fly or lure. For example, like the jiggy. I love the jiggy. So I had a 6-weight developed that had the action, the recovery, the balance, the reel. Everything had to be set up specifically to fish the jiggy exactly how I liked it.
Yep.
So I add a little weight on the end, whether it's a fighting butt or whatever I need to do to really get the pivot point where I want it, to get the recovery of the rod as I bounce the jiggy down the stream. And it has to kind of meet all those requirements. So I'm always changing. And a lot of times I'll buy a rod that doesn't fit and I'll sell the rod to buy a new one just to get it.
When you say are you working with a custom rod builder and saying, here's the specs that I need? Or are you buying blanks and tweaking it yourself? Not that you can tweak a blank, but like.
Well, one of the things that did not help me is I became good friends with a rod maker. So I I would go to him. He was close to my work, and I'd say, okay, I need a 1/2 inch off the butt section, and he'd take the cork off, grind off a 1/2 inch, put the butt back on. So it all looks very clean and professional. But I was always working with him on how to fine tune the rod exactly how I wanted it.
In other words, you're not going to give Bill a tip
No,
to
that's
his
true.
9
He's
foot
not.
4 weight because it's already,
Yeah, get it out of your
it's
head.
already
It's already fine tuned.
Oh man,
That's right. You're like,
I'm gonna cry
no.
myself to sleep tonight.
that's impressive, Steve.
It
That's
is.
impressive.
And it's not just rods. Like, how many boats do you have, dude?
How many what?
Boats, watercraft.
Oh, just one.
Oh, I thought you had 2.
Well, I sold one, so I'm down to one.
Okay. Okay. Do you have a spreadsheet for those rods, by the way? Rods, reels.
I have a spreadsheet for every rod reel, the date of the
Yes.
line,
This is my kind of.
what it has, if it's weighted,
knew you'd like
hook
that, Bill.
holder, everything. Yeah.
We can compare spreadsheets later.
So I have a question. It's been too long since we've chatted, Steve. So you're going to get a question. So are you this particular when it comes to fly tying?
No, my fly tying skills are rudimentary at best. I could tie well enough to have a fish take the fly, but my illness kind of stops with the gear. I don't get as
Wouldn't you tie flies on your lunch break occasionally?
Mm.
yeah. I used to have equipment at work, and I'd shut
Okay.
the door and pull it all out and tie up, and then back under the desk after lunch was done.
All right.
Hey, all right, let's do a question here. Listener question from Mike Roblock. I think that's how you say it. Dr. Trevor Smith, designated reader for Troutbitten. You want to read this one?
Yeah. Hey, Troutbitten, how much money do you think it takes to get into trout fishing on the fly? Rock bottom line, what you need to catch trout as well as anyone else. I know you've said you don't need expensive stuff, and I agree. But the general startup cost, what do you think?
Mm-hmm. I picked this one, obviously, because it fits in pretty nicely with the gear stuff. Right?
Absolute gear that you need: waders,
Mm.
boots, fly reel. I wouldn't even say you need fly line. Technically, you could use mono, but
Fair.
I wouldn't suggest it as a beginner.
No.
Fly line, let's say, is $25 ish. Well, no, you can go to Walmart and get the Fair Play Cortland for $15.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say the 9'5" weight. I think that's kind of the standard startup rod.
That's fair too.
There's combos out there for $50 to $100.
Mm-hmm. He does say, to catch trout as well as anyone else. What do you need to catch trout as well as anyone else?
Depends.
Some stuff is going to hold you back a little bit. I don't know. Just ballpark it.
It'd be hard to get south of $500, don't you
That's
think?
what I was thinking. I was thinking $400 to $500.
Yeah.
I would say it was.
You can
Get
get
your
used.
waders,
You can
boots.
I
get
would say
used
three.
stuff. You can get
Yeah, I
used
would-
gear.
That's a great point.
I would.
Yep.
Get used gear.
I would say you could do it for under $300 if you were crafty and you paid it.
Sure.
If you're wearing skin tight hot.
That's right.
That's right.
Get on it.
Or seriously, you could wet wade. Go wet wade.
Yeah.
If
Wet
the-
wade.
yeah.
In the middle of winter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do that. It won't hurt.
Get some
Walmart
whiskey.
and,
No, you'll be all right.
Just get a bottle of whiskey.
Right.
You
Right.
won't feel it.
Don't pay a lot for it. You're trying to save money.
Get the cheap stuff.
Right. I don't know. I'm with Trevor. I think $400, $500, and I feel like that's a lot of money compared to what you could do. You could say you could do the same thing with gear for a little bit less, maybe half that cost. I'm sure Steve's not going to agree with that, right? What do you think, dude?
Well, it's funny you should ask this because I'm
Oh.
going through this exact exercise with my daughter. She just started tying flies and said, "Hey, Dad, I want to
Awesome.
go catch fish on these flies." So I'm starting from scratch, getting her kind of a baseline
Yeah.
outfit. So I got the waders for like $80.
Yeah.
Not great, but enough she could wade in.
Oh yeah.
Rod I got was about $100 on sale because I
So
do.
wait a second.
get-
I know.
You didn't
man.
have one out of the 131 rods
No,
you didn't give your
she
daughter.
can't touch those?
Steve.
No, she
Oh,
has to
that's-
have her own.
Man, you're trout bitten.
Pink.
She has her
Gotta
own. So I
pink
got her own reel, her own line, everything to match her.
That's
Size.
fantastic.
That's good.
So but Steve also just built another wing onto his rod.
That's the fact. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead. What else you got?
But with all that, and I got her a little sling pack and a little fly box. and
You
I
want her to
think
have
I'm at
back?
like 320.
Yeah.
And that's getting her fishing. Now, when you talk about as well as anybody else, that's skill now. So now you have
That's
to
right.
develop that aspect. Gear won't quite do that for you.
No.
But I think you can get away with 300 to 400
Ooh.
range and still be able to feel comfortable.
You're
and
go-
catch
you're gonna
fish.
have to pay for chiropractor appointments with that sling pack, though.
Oh, we're not big sling. Steve, what is your pack setup for fly fishing?
Sling pack.
I thought so. See? Yeah, you're out of here. We got to go, everybody.
Yeah,
See you later.
sorry, Steve. Been voted off the island.
Yep.
Well, I'll just say, not to take it into sling packs, but the one thing I like, I cast lefty, and the sling goes over my right shoulder. So I like to be unencumbered on my left shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
So a vest and everything puts
That
weight
is-
on that side I don't like. So that's why I've
Yeah.
gone to a
Let's
sling
go
pack.
fishing. I'll introduce you to a lanyard.
I could see that.
He's a
I'm
lanyard,
a lanyard
guy
guy now.
He's trying to convert everybody into lanyards.
Team lanyard.
Team lanyard. All right, so that's our answer there, Mike Roblox. Thanks for the question. Seriously. Let's do it, guys. Gear fixes. So many years ago, I published an article titled All the Things, and it was about the almost constant maintenance, preparation, and attention required to really keep things happening when you're fishing a lot. So that's not only about keeping the fly boxes full and replacing tippet spools and tying some new leaders and things. It's also about fixing the stuff that breaks. So that's what we're going to talk about. Again, another good idea from Deli. Something I kind of hadn't thought about for a topic. This is cool.
Yeah, I thought it it literally happened as something broke down while I was in the middle of the woods fishing.
Sure.
And then like the next day I went out with Wings with Trevor and I was like, hey, what do you think about this? And he's like, oh, this does sound good. And so I texted it to you guys and then I was like, oh, I'm like, we got Gear Me and Steve coming.
I know, right?
I'm like, I bet you he's got some fixes too.
Gear fixes.
The point that brought this to mind was I pulled my rod out of the rod vault and realized that the tip was cracked. And so it was about an inch, I don't know, let's say an inch down from where the top eye is. And I was like, ah. And so the first thing I thought about was, well, I can't fish it like this. But what I did was I found where the next eye, let's say the next eye on the rod.
Oh, yeah.
And on that next eye, there's thread that kind of ties that eye into the actual blank of the rod. And so if you cut into that thread, the next eye is going to start to peel off and pull off of the rod. So what I did was I cut the rod. I had like a big pair of fingernail clippers or like a Leatherman. Yeah, it was a big
pair.
It was an 8'3" weight. So
you got thick toenails, don't you?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. And so I cut it right above that thread so that because what happens is if you leave that chunk of rod, let's say above the next eyelet, the fly line, the mono, whatever you're fishing is going to tangle around it. But at this point I was deep in the woods and I was like, well, this is what I got to do. And so I cut it and I fished all day with it. It didn't really have a problem.
I know.
One thing I'll notice, if you cut a rod back, it's going to reduce the flex in the rod. And so let's say it's a 5 weight, it's a 4 weight or whatever. If you want to be a cool kid and fish small tippet, don't do it that day because the rod won't have that protection to protect the tippet. Cool kid. I remember doing this one time with like a 5 weight. And I tried it with like 4X or like, I think it was 5X. And I broke 5X off on like the first hook set. And I was like, okay, this isn't going to work. And so I beefed up my tippet and, moved forward and caught fish and didn't break them off. Because that last, whatever, inch or 2 inches of the rod is really what's going to help protect you from breaking fish off.
Sure. Have you guys done that too? With the rod fix like that? I've done that 2 or 3 times.
Have you?
I was on a trip with Steve. One of our favorite rivers. It was wintertime. All my guides were icing up. And I was dumb and I took my rod and started, not too hard, but I was tapping it. I was kind of hitting it on the water surface to break the ice off. Well, then I broke the tip. Luckily, that's what I broke, was like, again, 2, 3 maybe inches of the tip. So I did like you're talking about, Deli. I actually just took my hemostats, grabbed it, and then just cracked it and, broke it right there at the next eyelet. And when you start talking about that, Deli, how the thread wraps are above it as well, I was thinking, because mine were single foot. If they're single foot guides, then all your thread wraps are, toward
that's
the
a good point.
cork,
Yeah.
and yours must have been snake guides.
Yeah.
Anyway, little details like that matter too, but that's a good fix. I mean, that's stream side fix when you break a rod tip, and that's usually what breaks, right? I mean, rods break in 100 other different ways, but probably most are just that little tip section.
Yeah, I would say if you get lucky, the tip breaks, and then you can salvage your day. But if it breaks lower, then it gets complicated. Then it's often a day ruiner to the point where I find that if you're not cinching those pieces together hard enough and they slide up or casting, I tend to when I'm casting dry flies, that's when it's like, or you're stuck on a rock. How many times have you been stuck on something? You pull up twice and right, rod snaps. I've had that happen quite a few times in the midsection of the rod, and at that point you're really screwed.
No, right?
You know what I mean? It almost shatters in a way that it's like, man.
I had a friend, we hiked in to a brook trout stream, let's say a mile and a half, and we got back there and he literally got the fly line out, made one cast, and like 3/4 of his rod just snapped off the top. And
too much.
It was like, oh, and I was like, well, let me see what I can do. And so we took the tip off. At that point, I was just like an experiment. I was like, let me see that. Let me see if I can catch a fish on it. And so it was not comfortable, but I was able to fish with it.
With 3/4 of a rod, basically.
Yeah, 3/4 of a rod base. And I was like, let me see that. Let me throw that. Because I was like, okay, you got fly line on here. Let me put a dropper on it. And it was enough to push the fly line out and then put a dropper on. But it was fishing like a 4.5 to 5 foot rod. But if you're brookie fishing,
that's funny.
Sure. If I'm going that far, I'm going that far into the backcountry anymore, I have 2 rods.
No kidding.
That's exactly what I was just going to say.
Always bring a spare, like lightweight.
Oh, I've never done that.
Like I have a Orvis Superfine. It's like a 7.9 3-weight, but it's very light. The rod tube's super tiny. And out here you can get into some serious commitments where you're 3 miles away from the car, right? And you're putting that much effort into it. I don't mess with it, with the chance that a rod breaks, because I've had it happen where it's almost a day ruiner.
Sure.
And so I always, when I'm going that big, I'm strapping another rod to my backpack.
What's your point of no return? Is it 1 mile? Is it 2 miles?
Yeah, I mean, if I can get back to the car in 20 minutes and open up my rod vault and get another rod like that, then I'm, or if I know I'm on my beat small half mile, whatever. But like when I'm truly, got the lunch packed, water bladder, like I'm just like, you know what? Give me that small rod, and I just, pop it onto the side, and that way if something happens, I just kind of do a quick swap.
Smith Creek has always been about practical, durable gear, and this season they've added 2 more products to the lineup. Smith Creek's Wade Soft EVA wading belt is soft, flexible, and built to move with you, not against you. It cinches down without pinching and holds your gear steady with a tough Duraflex buckle and accessory clip. And if you're looking for an all-purpose carrying knife, Smith Creek's new Pike Tooth Knife Kit delivers. The Japanese steel blade comes razor sharp right out of the box, precise enough for streamside tasks and tough enough for camp chores. It includes a Waterstone, wrist lanyard, and rugged neoprene sheath that's ready for trail, stream, or camping. So whether you're rigging up or dressing down, Smith Creek's got you covered. Like so many other Smith Creek products, the Wade Soft Wading Belt and the Pike Tooth Knife Kit have found a permanent home in my own fishing kit. Learn more at smithcreek.co. Hey, this episode is supported by Trident Fly Fishing. Trident is one of the best fly shops in the United States. With over 30,000 fly fishing and fly tying products in stock, they have everything an angler needs, and they ship fast. Trident also has a huge selection of Euro nymphing supplies, from rods and reels, leaders and sighters, beadhead nymphs, tactical hooks, and tungsten beads. And all orders over $49 ship for free. So for a limited time, Trident is offering Troutbitten listeners 10% off their order. Just use the code Troutbitten in all caps at checkout. Visit tridentflyfishing.com and fill up your cart. You guys think you could fix a broken rod with duct tape?
I think it depends on where it broke. Like, I think when you get that crack at the joint, I think that can work.
Yeah.
Because you still have a section that's going to overlap before you have that like flared ferrule or the
Ferrule.
like that open. But I think it'd be really tough to make it very functional.
Yeah, if it just
I think
breaks in the
otherwise.
middle.
I think you'd have to have like the best chance I think you have is to find a stick
Split.
that
Yeah,
is
splint.
like that is like a smaller diameter that you can fit in both sides of the rod, and then at that point then duct tape it or find some way to put it together.
So, Steve, you kind of have an affinity for 2-piece rods, right?
Well, I prefer one piece, but they're very, very hard to find.
Oh, yeah.
So the fewer pieces, the better.
I remember years
Nice.
ago, like 20 years ago, you were kind of complaining because so many rods were 4-piece. Now they're like all 4-piece. And I said, well, you could make your 4-piece rod a 2-piece with some super glue. If you want those two sections to never separate and just be a 2-piece rod, go ahead. You wouldn't do it though, right? You're like, no, I can't do that.
The issue's not with the sections only wanting 2. It's the continuity and not having the ferrules. So I have a couple 1-piece, like 12 weights that you could tell the difference between them and like a 4-piece.
No kidding.
So I just like the limited joints because there's limited failure points and those kind of things. But you all mentioned about tape. The best type of tape to bring with you is electrical tape.
Okay.
Because you can really build and keep it smooth. And so if you have to splice, if you will, 2 pieces together just to get the rest of the day going, you can really make that thick and control how above and below the break point you have to hinge it or splice it together. So that would be my suggestion. Carry a roll of duct tape with you. But I'm like Matt. I actually have a custom 8-piece 9'10" 5-weight that I can carry that fits in carry-ons and everything.
Oh, yeah.
So I usually take that with
Your
me.
stowaway,
if I
right?
Go far.
Sawyer pulls it out like a knight pulls a sword out. He's just like
Little song
There's his
plays.
backup.
Like his walk-up song.
I like that.
What else, guys? What else we got?
I mean, I like the idea of at least coming prepared with more than one rod because, I think while it may be obvious to a lot of us, I do think there's some people that probably have one rod that they mainly fish, especially if you just got into fishing. And so working towards building a set of rods so you can have a backup in the car is important. And I also think it plays into, you should be thinking about, and I think we should all be thinking about where our gear is going to fail. And I think beyond the fly rod, I think, we think what's attached to it, the reel. I don't know if you guys have ever had this happen, but I've broken a couple reels, but taking a hard fall straight onto a reel can definitely damage the cage, right? And so what kind of things have you guys done, while you're out on a trip to make a reel functional when maybe it's worse for the wear?
Fall again, try to bend it the other way.
Fall again.
I've beat my reel to straighten it out.
Oh,
'cause
sure.
It does
Yeah.
bend.
Yep. Pliers. I've done pliers.
Yeah, but on the stream, I remember sitting on the bank just trying to smash it back.
No kidding.
So it would. Yeah, I mean, right.
was
Of
that
course,
bad?
it happened in the middle of a hatch. Fish are rising. I'm all
well, yeah.
spastic. Wanting to get back in the action. I take a tumble. Hit a rock, damage the reel. All I can hear is gulp, gulp,
Yeah.
gulp behind me, and I'm like it looks like I'm trying to start a fire on the bank, but I'm just trying to beat my reel into place. Reels are tricky, man, because they're sensitive and they got different parts with Allen wrenches potentially, and I know the reel sometimes comes with its own wrench. And so are you diligent enough to pack that? Like I used like at one point I remember, cleaning out my vest and I pull out that, square wrench that I'm like, what is this? And it's specifically for one of my Sage reels. And I'm like, I'm not diligent enough to carry that.
No,
all
that
the
stuff's in my
time,
office.
the time,
Yeah.
I broke the top. Like I had a cheaper reel, and I broke the entire top end chunk off of a reel, like on the spool.
On the foot? Oh,
no, like the spool itself, like the top. Let's say the top third of the reel spool got broken off.
That'd throw the balance out.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't worried about balance. I was, and so
just recover.
And so what it ended up was the problem is that like it sheared it off, and so like the part that where the cage of the reel was, or the spool was missing, it was like a sharp knife. And so if I would have run the fly line or tippet or anything across that, it would break it. So what I did was I basically just like
That's tricky.
stripped out a large amount of fly line, and I was fishing a small stream at the time, but then I just cast it and I didn't let anything go through that reel to try to cut it.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So you kept the line out of the reel. That's what I was going to ask too. Like, I mean, I think that's feasible, right? Depending on the size of fish you're going to be catching.
Oh, yeah,
But
yeah.
as soon as, like if you don't have the drag, that could get kind of tricky, depending on the type of fish you're fishing.
And I ever tell you guys, I had a Sage Z-axis, Steve, the one you and I were talking about a moment ago. And that thing broke, I don't know, 6 inches above the cork, an odd place for it to break. But I'm sure I had damaged it somehow, in a fall probably. And I had a good fish on. Ended up being like 21 inches. Anyway, he starts surging toward, I hooked him. I was fishing streamers, probably on like 1X, a very stout tippet. He starts going toward the brush pile. I'm like, I got 1X on. That's a big streamer hook. You're not going into the brush pile. And so I put a lot of pressure on him. And the rod just exploded right. Boom. And I'll never forget. It sounded like a gunshot to me. It was startling,
That's crazy.
right? And it took me, 2 seconds to realize what happened. I'm like, what the heck? What? Oh, gosh. All right. And so I figured for a second, I had probably lost that fish. And he did go into the brush pile, but I ended up kind of recovering and whatever, getting the pieces of the rod on the bank. And I'm like, I wonder if that fish is still on. Start pulling on a line. I felt like he's still there. I went over to the brush pile and I kind of wiggled things, and all of a sudden he's free again. Then he starts ripping off downstream. Ended up hand lining that fish in. That's a good memory. It's fun. Every time I'm there, I always think about that. It's a good memory. It was weird, but
funny.
I did. I hand lined him in, and so you don't need a reel. Just go out there.
Not with 1X. Jeez.
No, that's the good.
So there you go.
point.
Maybe that's your lesson, right? Like stouting up your tippet.
Yeah.
If you're gonna start hand lining
One
fishing.
never knows when you're gonna have to hand line your fish. Don't go lower
That's
than
awesome.
2X. We'll give them 2.
Yeah.
2X.
we'll give 'em 2.
That's good. I don't know. I think reels for me probably fail the least, and it's that maybe it's bent out. I've done that on a vise, and like I said, with pliers and stuff. I mean, at home, at home, and I mean a workbench
For
vise,
sure.
not my fly tying vise.
No.
What about this? I've heard guys pass around information like, oh, when your boots fail, if your soles start coming apart, I mean, wading boots, you just aqua seal them. You got another whole year out of them. I tried that. I'm pretty good with aqua seal too. And yes, I had the boots dried before I applied, and I tried to keep everything as clean as possible. It didn't work. I got like maybe 10 trips. I'm going to give it that. Maybe 10 trips out of them before everything starts falling apart again. Aqua seal can only do so much. But what do you guys think?
Yeah, when it comes to boots,
Not much.
I don't even mess with them.
Yeah.
Like when they start acting up like that, for me, as much as I fish, it's not worth trying to make them last another 8 to 10 trips to delay the inevitable anyway. And I think that's such an important piece of your gear for the day is good traction, because I've seen people, that ruins their day, or that prevents them from getting after it on certain waters. And so I don't, like, if there's certain things I don't try to salvage, wading boots is one of them. Now,
Interesting.
there's the other piece to that is if you have a malfunction, let's say you're 2 hours from the house, you didn't bring extra wading boots, and that's your pair, which I've had happen, right? Some of the more common annoyances in my fishing career have been shoelaces snapping or a boa system breaking, and you're there for the day, and there's nothing more frustrating than trying to walk in the river without a tight, a hold on your boot. So I actually started getting those Titan straps.
What's that?
And I actually learned it's think of it as just a strap.
It's like a gear strap?
It's like a belt, Dom. Think of it as a belt, but it's a gear strap that you can cinch onto backpacks.
Gotcha.
And I use it backcountry skiing to where if you have a malfunction in the backcountry with your ski boot, that's really bad, right? Like, because you're really out there in, 8 feet of snow and you can't get back. So these straps, if you have a shoelace break, you can almost strap it like a buckle, like a ski boot buckle onto that boot to secure it. And if the rubber does pop off the sole, you could actually loop it underneath and then cinch it down on the top to get by the day,
Oh,
right?
I
Like
hear
it's a day fix. So they're like $8, these Titan straps.
Yeah,
They come
Titan
in a
straps,
bunch
I
of
use
different
those
sizes.
hunting, yeah.
Yeah, they're great to throw in your wading vest in the case of an emergency like that.
That's a great idea.
That is.
I like that.
I had a guy one time when I was guiding. We were at least a mile upstream from where we parked, and he started slipping around a little bit, and like after about 15 minutes of that, he's like, "What is going on?" He waded over to the bank, and the sole had just, I mean, like the ball of his foot part of the sole had really just like come off, and things were like really weird, and I'd never seen a boot separate and fail like that. Anyway,
That's weird.
so he was kind of walking. He said, "Yeah, I think I was actually walking on the neoprene of my booty, and the sole was like folded back underneath." So I tried to help him out. I was like, "What do I have?" I could have used one of those Titan straps if I had it. I actually tried. I took a mono rig, 20-pound Maxima Chameleon, and I kind of wrapped it around his boot a couple times, and I tied a knot. It didn't last long, but he walked out, and I actually ran back. We were close to my house, so I drove back to my house, got a pair of my boots. He had the same size feet, and that was the solution for the day. But I could have done better with the Titan strap.
I've done, like, when soles start to separate like that, I've screwed studs into them so that it like holds
to get back to the midsole.
Yeah, to get to the midsole to hold them together, but it's not
nice.
I always keep studs, like whether it's the Cold Cutter or whether it's the Orvis studs.
Yeah.
I keep something in my car so that I have some sort of traction if I need it. Or like you said, like almost like putting stuff back together, it gives me like a screws. Or I also keep zip ties.
Yeah, that's
you could have
thing.
used zip ties to, worst case scenario, you zip tie the boot to it.
That would have lasted a hell of a lot longer than 20-pound
Maxima
monofilament. Yeah.
You got to have the heavy zip ties.
So electrical tape and then zip ties.
That's
Steve?
pretty much all you need to fix most gear.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe.
Do you guys ever have your fly line? Most of these fly lines now come with loops.
Yeah.
And I find that some of the designs have just been, I've had bad luck with some of these loop designs lately of the loop just breaking. And then when you're on the stream and you got to tie a nail knot or try to piece that fly line back together, that's the old school way, right? We always do nail knots, but I'm like, I haven't done a nail knot in a long time because of those loops.
Yeah, sure.
That they've created on the thing. So have you guys ever had that while you're fishing, like a loop bust?
I've never had a loop, the loop itself fail, like the end of the loop where I couldn't, like, I clinch knot into the loop. You guys know this. I think you guys
I do the
this
same
too.
thing.
Clinch knot into the loop, and that's how I attach a leader. And I've never had that like bust, like I couldn't tie into it. But what I have, Matt, is like where the loop doubles up and then goes back. I've had that hinging effect, let's say. And it's the loop's fault, not my fault. How I'm tying into it. It just wears. And I'm fully in agreement with you. Some companies are nailing it. They got it great. And other companies, like you can even kind of see the bump where it's doubled up and where that it should be tapered better, and it's not. And those are the ones that are failing for me. I mean it. Like after 6 months or something.
Quite a few.
Right.
It's annoying.
It is. I don't have an on-stream fix for it. Well, like you said, you clip it off. Dude, I'll tell you. You said nail knot. It's a uni knot. It's just a uni knot. Now, there's one more step to it. But anyway, I'm saying you can, on stream, attach a leader with a uni knot. That's what it is. So go around the fly line with your uni knot, pull it tight. It's not going to be quite as clean and streamlined, let's say. It's close to being exactly what a nail knot is.
Sure. And knots, to your point, all those knots, I think they're important, just to get out of your leader system, line system malfunctions.
Yeah.
Or if you break off, you'd be shocked how many, if you're not efficient with that stuff, how long that can put you on the sidelines when you're out, trying to fish.
And the more knots I guess, like the more of these weird solutions that you're going to have.
Sure.
I think that's neat.
I will tell one story of a nail knot that I had failed.
Yeah.
I don't know how it failed. It just literally slipped off my fly line.
Sloop probably tied it for you. Thanks a lot,
Yeah.
Sloop.
Well-
Appreciate that, bud.
Come on, Sloop. Make it better.
Come on, Sloop.
So the actual way I retied it is I took the tip section off my rod,
Okay.
and it was hollow. So I fed the fly line up the center of the tip section from
Very
the inside,
creative.
and then wrapped the line around it and then kind of fed it through and then cinched it on, almost like that nail knot tool.
Wow.
Put it in.
Yeah.
I just kind of used the hollow part of the tip because it was small enough to get it in there. So that's one way you can kind of tie it cleanly, but I have no idea why it failed in the first place, and I never use those loops. I clip them off and always do a nail knot because I don't like the loops much on the end of fly line.
Really?
It's good.
I didn't at first. I learned to trust them. Like I said, I've never had one break outright. Like the core has never failed on me. It's the coating around the core. That's a I don't know. It's just a very interesting, innovative solution there, Steve. Uni knot, baby. Solves every problem. Do you think that's why they call it a uni knot? Because like one knot can do everything.
Unifies the world.
At the fishing world. I feel like you can do everything with it. When I do saltwater, I go double uni knot to tie braid. Steve, you're going to hate this, I bet. Let me ask you. In saltwater, I'm fishing a gear rod. I'm using braid. And I go braid, then to my leader. And I go a double uni because it's easy. Does that bug you, Steve? Braid to monofilament, what are you using?
So I always used to use a double uni, but it doesn't come through the guides clean. So I actually went to an Alberto knot.
Yeah.
Where you fold your mono in half and then your braid's usually thinner. You put it through that loop, wrap it around, back up and pull.
Yep.
And so now the looped end is coming out, so it comes cleaner through the guides. But I mean, I've used double uni in that situation, but I like the Alberto better.
Whether it's after a fishing trip or at a backyard fire, you can bet the Troutbitten crew has a case of New Trail Broken Heels along with us. It's honestly our favorite beer. This hazy IPA is smooth and full-bodied. Hand-selected Citra hops lead to notes of bright clementine and juicy ruby red grapefruit. Broken Heels is a keeper. New Trail beer is proudly brewed in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, and delivered cold to your favorite craft beer retailer every week. At New Trail, it's not about being the best angler. It's about getting out there. So enjoy nature's moments and reward yourself for a day well fished with New Trail Broken Heels. It's Troutbitten's favorite beer. Tactical Fly Fisher was founded by Fly Fishing Team USA angler Devin Olson to bring anglers cutting-edge gear and techniques inspired by the World Fly Fishing Championships. Tactical Fly Fisher's goal is to supply you with the latest and best fly fishing gear and to help you learn how to use it through their videos and books. Whether you need flies, fly tying supplies, a new rod or reel, or any other fly fishing equipment, they've got you covered. Check them out at tacticalflyfisher.com and use the code TB15 to get 15% off one order, excluding rods, reels, waders, and boots. Visit tacticalflyfisher.com.
One of the other nuances I get into and maybe it's bad luck, but having my net catch on shit when I'm walking through the woods and busting
rips apart
some of the mesh, and then going to land a beautiful fish that you want to maybe take a picture of, and whoosh! I'm like, where did that fish go? And little do I know, I got 3 holes in my net.
You're catching.
Did you guys ever have that happen?
Well, no, because you catch the little ones. My big fish don't go right through the extra holes.
I've had fish just disappear.
Yeah. My thing with the rubber mesh, you're talking rubber mesh, right?
Yeah, and then what you do for a fix, you know?
Well, when's the last time, side note, when's the last time you had like a nylon mesh net? Long time ago, right?
Long time ago.
I know. I did it. I get it. It's better for the fish. That's fantastic. Good for you, fish. But I do it because the flies come out of rubber mesh so easily.
Oh, yeah.
Compared to, nylon.
And even if you know,
twine.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But do you guys usually fix it just with tippet? That's what I usually try to get some, whatever, 0, 1X tippet and just kind of, field repair it as easy as I can.
Yeah, I use Dacron. And you know how I do the backing barrels?
Yeah.
Steve, is that what you do too?
Yeah, I carry backing with me, and I've had to repair nets with that too. That works well.
Yeah. If I'm home, then I'll put a little bit of Zap-A-Gap on it. Is Zap-A-Gap the one that's waterproof?
I think Zap-A-Gap, because I use Zap-A-Gap on some of my streamers.
Yeah, I think one of them's waterproof. I'm looking at it, I think. I think maybe Gorilla Glue is too. Anyway, I use a super glue type thing that's waterproof. Once I get home, I'll just strengthen that. But yeah, like Steve, I have 20-pound orange Dacron with me for tying those backing barrels. And yeah, if I don't know, if I get a pretty significant rip or tear or whatever we're calling it in the rubber mesh, that's what I do. And then when I get home, I reinforce that knot because I've had it come undone. You know what I use? Uni knot. Right? It's true.
Unifies everything, right?
That's right. Unifies the world. Did you guys learn to sew? Does everybody here know how to sew? Steve, you look like you could really sew.
Oh, I had sewing in grade school, but no, I can't use a machine. You're just going to get loops through a piece of fabric and cinched up, and that's the closest you'll get.
Yeah, you can do it though, right?
I think so.
Like at a pinch.
Oh, if you have to, yeah.
Plus, there's YouTube. You can really learn.
Well, that helps.
You know, again, we're talking a lot about like stream side fixes and weird things that happen on the water. But yeah, I said too, like a lot of this to me is daily maintenance, and I just like to keep my gear going. I don't really like new stuff. I mean it. I feel kind of stupid when I'm wearing a brand new pair of waders. You guys feel that way? You feel like a rookie out there.
Yeah, having worn in gear really has a comfort and confidence level that you can bring to the table instead of the shiny new waders that crinkle while you walk.
Yeah, and it's not even necessarily how it looks. I don't like the rigidity, let's say, of a brand new wading jacket, a brand new vest especially, right? I'm like, just break in already. It's like a brand new ball cap. Like it's not me yet. It doesn't feel good yet. Anyway, I learned to keep my vest going. That's the big one. I'm a vest guy, yeah. And then there's a lot of zippers on there. If I get a big tear in it, I guess I'll sew it. I'll more often use that tear mend tape. You can patch tents and stuff with it too. But for me, it's been about the zippers that will fail. It's not the zipper itself, but it's like it's how the zipper is then sewed onto the vest. And I have done that, 3 or 4 times in my life, which isn't that many. Like you were saying, Steve, I'm a little more advanced at sewing than it seems that you are. Proud of that fact, Can outdo you with the sewing.
Well, you should be. It's a good skill to have.
See? You're so nice. Listen. Nice face. I saw the sarcasm. So we should really touch on waders. The longer time goes on, it's like the more people I'm realizing aren't even patching their waders. They're like, well, I got a pinhole in my waders. I'm going to send them back. I'm like, nah, I'm going to say Aqua Seal again. You guys, you patch your own waders, right? It's kind of expected.
My old pair is probably more Aqua Seal than it was waders.
Oh, yeah, I have a couple pair of those.
Yeah, and I'd say Aqua Seal and the patches they give you are pretty effective.
Well,
quite a long time.
Yeah, not every company.
I like doing both.
Yeah. Not every company gives you the patches. But well, I always thought it was funny. Sims would give you the patches and a little tube of Aqua Seal, and they're like, "Here, do it yourself. Don't send them back to us immediately."
Sure.
I thought, honestly, I say it was funny. I thought it was a good message. Like, hey, you're gonna do something stupid. You're gonna run into some barbed wire, some thorns, and
pinhole leaks.
Yeah, you're gonna get them. Little tears. That's on you. Like, that's your fault. Be careful. Bad stuff's gonna happen.
And often those are the easy ones to fix.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Right? Yeah. I feel like it's expected. When you're fishing, that stuff's gonna happen. Like I said, go patch them. If it's a seam leak, you got a different thing then. That's kind of on the company, in my book anyway, my way of thinking.
Right.
Let me ask you that, though, because I had a seal leak where the neoprene comes into the wader, and these were out of warranty.
Oh, that's tough, yeah.
It wasn't like it was covered. But what suggestions do you have for that? Because I was out of ideas after I used a tube of Aqua Seal on it.
Yeah, buy a new pair of waders. That's my... Yeah.
I don't like the seam, to Dom's point. I've never been successful, repairing any type of connection, point or seam I always hope that it's a glaring gash from a thorn or something, because those seem to be,
you can find it.
Success rates very high to keep your waders, fixable. But once it hits that seam, man, you're shit out of luck. And maybe some of our listeners have ideas, because I'd be interested to hear what they say. But that's a tough one, man. That's garbage. I get a new pair.
I agree. Any leak in the booty, I've never had much success with. Like you said, you can put excessive Aqua Seal on it and even try to patch it, but then you're making something that should be flexible. Now you're kind of making it rigid. It's always hurt my foot. Wherever I've tried to do that, it kind of rubs on my foot, because it should be softer and flexible neoprene, and now I've made it like a harder spot with glue. Sucks. Once that happens, I think you're in trouble. But all
So that's the beyond repair point, right?
I think so. But all the other stuff, I mean, like you said, dude, I have older waders that I have 30 patches in them. Patches, even just a small piece of aqua seal. What about these days it seems to be more popular from guys that I talk to. They'll use like UV resin, wader repair, the UV stuff. I've tried that, and that's like a good field repair. It doesn't last long. It starts cracking, flaking, and have you tried that with your waders?
I have before. I mean, I feel like that UV has worked for me
long term
for a little while.
Okay.
Depending on the spot though. It's the same. But then, I use that, Dom, but I usually always back it up on the inside with a patch and some more seal, and then I coat it with the UV outside. Like I try to double up on the actual leak itself, and I've had good success on certain waders. I remember a little UV thing I had on my shin for what felt like years, that I was always amazed that it held up. And I think it's the location, right? Like to your point, like if you're in a you're lucky you get a hole at a spot that doesn't receive a lot of bend or whatever. It's just kind of on the baggy part of your shin or something, which is where mine was. I think it can last longer than some other spots.
Yeah. I'm glad we don't make waders. I never want to have Troutbitten waders. They're going to fail. You know what I mean?
Leak.
They all leak. They're going to fail. People are going to be mad at you. And I don't want to sell people something that I know is eventually going to fail like that.
Sure.
And
do you think that they'll come up with there's so much technology coming out there on apparel, do you feel like they'll ever break through on some absolute bomb-proof, fourth layer, something that just is like shockingly good?
No, not and be comfortable at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's the thing. Like you could, even like when they put, what is it, Cardora? Is that how you say it? That outer on some waders?
Yeah,
Cordura?
like that. Yeah. Uh-huh.
That's a stiff layer. And those are very durable waders, but they're not comfortable for me. I don't feel like I can bend and flex like I want to. I feel like it's the kind of trade-off where you just cannot have the best of both worlds all at once.
Sure.
Anyway, everything's a trade-off. I don't think so, Matt. I mean, you like to think that like in a science fiction movie, you could have the perfect pair of waders.
Sawyer, what's your wader of choice these days?
Anything was a zipper.
You are a zipper
I'm getting
guy.
old, so getting them on and off is way easier with a zipper.
So you want the zipper to get them on and off easier.
Yeah, buddy.
Man.
Just
That's not
I don't get that. I don't get it.
and it helps when you have to relieve yourself in the woods too, so you're not peeing down your waders like I think you did one time. So it
Never did that.
It makes it easier.
I never did that. You can't prove anything.
Dom just splashes some water like he's been wading.
Deli tapped out again.
That's all right.
All right. There it is. Gear fixes. Got to keep your stuff going. Seriously, we all spend a lot of time, money, and effort to get to the river and go fishing. But as we all know, even the simplest gear failure can change the day. It can ruin your trip. But by carrying a few things like zip ties, duct tape, electrical tape, tension straps, Dacron, and maybe a sewing kit, field repair, or maybe just 15 minutes spent at the tailgate can save the day. Likewise, part of a life on the water is all the maintenance and preparation, doing what you need to do to keep your fishing gear stocked, functional, and ready to go. Really, being a versatile angler, especially like we talk about so much, it requires a lot of stuff. And if you don't think it through and keep on top of it, gear failures can hold you back. Hey, so we'll be back next week with episode 8. Remember, episode 9 is the annual airing of grievances. So send in your guest grievances because we'll add those in along the way. I hope you're all having fun out there on the water, wherever you are. Fish hard. All right, so Matt Grobe from Bozeman, Montana. That's not a spot burn either. I'm just telling you the name of the city. Can you read us out?
Remember, the Troutbitten Project is a free resource for all anglers. The Troutbitten website hosts over 1,500 articles, videos, and podcasts with endless stories, commentaries, tactics, tips, and more. Find what you like through the top menu and through the search page. Navigate by way of the categories and tags too. Be sure to find the Troutbitten YouTube channel, now featuring the Troutbitten Tip Series, Fly Fishing the Mono Rig, and the Troutbitten Fly Box, all in collaboration with Wilds Media. You'll also find the Fish and Film videos and the new Riverside series, all on their own playlists on Troutbitten YouTube. Thank you for listening to the Troutbitten podcast. Please give the show a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and leave a comment, because that really helps. Till next time, friends, fish hard, enjoy the day, and find your life on the water.
That was clean. I mean, that's professional. You should be proud of that one.
Crush it.
We did.
Do you have any time to participate in fishing activities?
Hey now.
Hey, now.
Yep. Hey.